Hello everyone and welcome back to Affinity for Commander. My name is Alex and today we're going to be taking a look at a creature that could potentially knock the Dragon off his throne as the best dragon tribal commander. As always, if you'd like to purchase any of the cards I'm going to be talking about here, then be sure to do so through our affiliate links in the description box. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but helps the channel out a lot. Now, onto the scalding hotness that is Temur Dragons. Miirym's Sentinel Wyrm is a 6/6 legendary flying dragon spirit with Ward 2 for 3 generic, 1 blue, 1 red and 1 green mana. They read, whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of it. Except the token isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. Now, this ability is rather obviously absolutely bonkers insane. To help illustrate this, let's compare Miirym to the other most popular dragon tribal commander, the Dragon. The Dragon makes all dragon spells cheaper by 1 generic. So if you want to play a 5 mana dragon, it now has a mana value of 4. Meanwhile, if you want to play a 5 mana dragon with Miirym, then we get a second 5 mana dragon. That is 10 mana of total dragon goodness now on board. Ergo, Miirym is better than the Dragon. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. What's that? Oh yes, right, the Dragon does get to do their ability from the command zone with their eminence, while Miirym has to actually be on the battlefield for their ability to trigger. And this is a good point and a significant negative against Miirym. However, if I want a mint copy of our lovely spirit dragon, then my total basket will be coming up to less than $1. But for the daddy dragon himself, that's going to be setting me back around $65 for the single card. Hence why I'm confident that beyond a significant reprint, then Miirym is going to be staying the budget builder's friend for all dragon decks for quite some time. Even ignoring the fact that he doesn't get access to white and black dragons, the reduction in cost, as well as monetary cost, definitely means the Dragon can't get too comfortable on his throne. But enough of that has been. Let's actually get on to our deck. Let's actually talk about Miirym and the deck we're going to be building around them. Starting off with the low end of the curve, we're wanting ways to ramp and reduce the cost of our scaly boys. So we're running Arcane, Cruel, Simic and Izzet Signets for Artifact Ramp, Farseek and Nature's Law for Land Ramp, and then Rattleclaw Mystic, Sakura Tribe Elder, Dragonlord Servant and Scaled Nurturer for our Creature Ramp. Now, I know the Servant doesn't technically ramp us, but it does reduce the cost of our dragons, including Miirym himself. And the Nurturer is also not a bad card when we've got our commander out, as they then will make another copy of the Nurturer. More life and more mana to cast more dragons. Win-win. Another card at the low end is Minion of the Mighty, which is technically ramp. It gets a dragon into play for free, and I'd call reducing the cost of a dragon to 0 mana ramp. And yes, he may die, but this is a sacrifice that I am willing to make. Now, beyond ramp and cheating out creatures, we also have a few spells to keep our big lizards safe in Heroic Intervention, Stubborn Denial, and Silumgar's Scorn. The intervention saves our lizards from inevitable board wipes by giving them indestructible, and the Denial just being a 1 mana negate since we're playing beefy dragons all the time. And the Scorn is, yes, a strictly worse counterspell, but it is quite frankly flavorful as hell. Look, if you want to just replace it with counterspell, you can. Just note you lose a lot of style points from me. Moving up to the 3-drop slot, we've got our last bits of ramp and first few dragons. Carnelian Orb of Dragonkind is a mana rock that grants the dragon we cast with it haste. And considering some of our attacks triggers, I'd say this is probably the most important artifact in the entire deck. Dragon's Hoard gives us mana and card draw later in the game. Dragon Speaker Shaman reduces each dragon by 2 mana, which over the course of the game is insane value. and similar to the Shaman, Urza's Incubator does the same effect, only on an artifact, so does not die to board wipes. Two enchantments that we'll want to be running is Temur Ascendancy and Garruk's Uprising. Both reward us for playing big creatures with card draw, and the Ascendancy gives those creatures haste, and the Uprising gives them trample. And here at the 3-drop slot we get our first flying dragon in Chaos Dragon, which, true, we may not be able to attack the person we want to all the time, but with 2 of them out thanks to Miirym, then we're still kicking 8 damage around the table each turn, which is no small amount. And finally we have one of the few cheap and instant speed shooters in Sarkhan's Triumph. Being able to get any dragon we want at instant speed to hand is great and can grab us exactly what we need when we need it. Now onto the 4-drops is where our dragons really start to come into force. And bear in mind that by this point in the game we would have wanted to have ramped and then got Miirym out before casting any of these spells to get the most value out of them. Thunderbreak Regent makes it rather painful to deal with any of our dragons, as the copy that Miirym makes means that any removal comes at the cost of 6 damage to that opponent. Leyline Tyrant is also a nice cheap dragon that lets us hold up mana and can be a lovely last ditch fireball when someone draws a board wipe. Speaking of dying triggers, Atsuchi the Blazing Sky is a nice cheap dragon for us, but will also give us 2 lots of their death trigger thanks to their copy. And then we have 2 of the newer dragons in Dragonborn Champion and Renari Merchant of Marvels. The Champion, along with his copy, will result in us drawing hopefully 3 cards a turn thanks to their combined effects. And Renari, well, whilst their ability doesn't stack in any way with a copy, I just see it as having 2 in case one needs to block or is removed. A little insurance, you know? As being able to flash in our dragons and then attack with them on our next turn, quite frankly, you can't put a price on. But of course we are essentially a token deck at the heart of it, so cards like Parallel Lives and Second Harvest are both great means of upping our amount of tokens on board. With the enchantment being good for gains over the game's course, but the Harvest can just be for creating 2 more blockers or needed ETBs for Dragon Tempest at instant speed. It is in fact a very versatile spell if used well. Now here at the 5-drop slot, oh here they be dragons. Ganak's Astral Hunter gives us a treasure when we have a dragon, token or not, enter, which will actually be 2 tokens thanks to his other self. Goldspan Dragon will make excellent use of these treasures by having them sack for 2 mana rather than 1. Kura the Boundless Sky, meanwhile, on death can help us search up for any unique lands or just make a massive spirit. And Thrakus the Butcher with his token copy can lead to our dragon's power being quadrupled when they attack, which is quite frankly a win con in of itself. Luzhan, Dragon's Legacy, and Scourge of Volkas both have damage dealing effects, with Luzhan striking at anything or anyone beyond commanders for big hits of damage, whereas the Scourge only hits per the number of dragons we control. But they also have fire breathing attached, so we can get in for some nasty damage all on his own. Now, to keep landing these big threats, we need to keep refilling our hand. Kindred Discovery means we draw whenever a dragon enters the battlefield, which includes the token copies as well. Return of the Wild Speaker is a great means of drawing cards, but also potentially hitting in for a lot of damage if we choose the other mode. Shamanic Revelations is a great card to help us get back in the game after maybe taking some early aggro whilst we still get our commander out and set up properly. After all, we do have big dragons, so we should be gaining a lot of life off the revelation. Now, moving into our high drop slot, we've got our last piece of card draw in Rishkar's Expertise, because on average when casting this, we're going to be driving 5+ cards, then dropping another dragon that you may have just drawn. This card is well worth it. We've then also got Savage Ventmore, who makes more mana each turn to help cast all those dragons that we've now been drawing. Now, this card is obviously a downgrade from the Ancient COPPA dragon with its treasure production, but it is also nearly worth as much as the deck, so I completely understand if people miss this card out. At 7 mana, however, we've got some genuine scalified creature removal. Drakaseth, Maw of Flames, and Balefire Dragon, with Drakaseth hitting 3 things on attack, and Balefire setting one particular player's board on fire. Or with Miirym creating token copies, then everything gets to be on fire. Yay! Fire. Now, moving on to the lands, there are quite a few unique dragon lands that are definitely worth running and surprisingly affordable. Now, we are also obviously in 3 colours, so run as much fixing as possible, as you do really need to be able to cast Miirym on curve, but then also go into something that is double red, then double blue, so fixing is rather important. However, for utility lands, there will be quite a few that give you the slight edge in the game. Alchemist's Refuge can allow for playing our dragons at instant speed to get around board wipes, plus being able to swing with them next turn to get in any important attack triggers. Bonder's Enclave also allows us to draw a card, and pretty much all of our creatures have 4 or more power. And finally, Haven of the Spirit Dragon not only taps for any mana for a dragon spell, but can also be sacrificed to get back any of our major hitters from the grave. Now, if hitting people in the face with big scaly dragons is far too pedestrian for you, then there are some dragon related combos that we can also nicely slide into the deck for that quick and clean kill. First is the quickest and obvious with Niv Mizzet and Curiosity, to hopefully deal lethal damage to all opponents with drawing, dealing damage with Niv, and then drawing again. However, this dragon combo doesn't really utilise Miirym at all, but to actually use our commander, then we can use cards such as Cloudstone Curio to bounce back any other dragon when their token comes into play, which seems okay. But when we are bouncing Slumbering Dragon, which it's just a 1 mana dragon, it doesn't matter what its effect is, it's just a 1 CMC dragon, okay? Because then when we have out Ganax, the treasure producing dragon we talked about earlier, now we are able to produce infinite treasures thanks to repeatedly playing and bouncing the Slumbering Dragon, which will also create us as many copies of Slumbering Dragon as we like. Ideally, we'd also have out Dragon Tempest, Lazarn, or Scourge of Valkas to deal damage, but infinite treasures and infinite tokens should put you in a commanding position anyway. In conclusion, Miirym is definitely the strongest legendary dragon we've seen in quite some time, and I would still maintain able to beat the Dragon off their throne for the best dragon tribal commander. Miirym, after all, is in relevant colours, has protection card draw, the relevant dragons, and is quite annoying in that little ward too. All of a sudden a Path to Exile looks not so good when it costs 3 mana. And that little bit about the token not being legendary means you get to play all the best dragons and not have them die to the legend rule from their own token. It is quite frankly a fantastic piece of card design, is exceptionally strong, and currently really cheap, and these things very rarely coincide in my experience. Yes, Miirym is an incredibly powerful commander, cheap monetarily with an amazing effect, and in my humble opinion, definitely the best dragon tribal commander. And that'll be it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. What cards are you excited to put into our Dragon Tribal Commander? Whatever your thoughts, leave them in the comments below. We read every single one of them. As always, this content and all content like it on Affinity for Commander are brought to you by our amazing patrons, without whom we could not continue making content like this. So thank you. If you too would like to support Affinity for Commander, then be sure to check out our Patreon page, link in the description box below. You can also support this channel by subscribing to it for more content just like it, and liking this video. And if you want to keep up with our antics elsewhere, you can follow us on your preferred social media platform. But that'll be it from me today, guys. As always, I have been Alex, and I will see you next time.